يا هلا 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 حن قلبي على جمعة الخير هلا حن قلبي على جمعة الخير هلا يا هلا ويا هلا ويا هلا ويا هلا يا هلا ويا هلا ويا
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Let's Talk. It's a Saturday morning and as always, great to be with you. Lots of interesting interviews lined up for you. We're going to be looking at adventure coaching. That's something new. It's a first for me. Our guest is Mark Smith and he's going to tell us what it's all about. We're also going to be talking to a lovely lady that has travelled all the way from East London to be with us in the studio this morning. She's going to talk to us about her book, Letters from My Heart, and it's her experience of Iddat, sitting in Iddat. We raised that issue about 2 weeks ago. She watched the show and decided she needs to come here and share her story with us. I can't wait for that. And then we'll be talking about Vision Month with Esther Kiniko, and that's what we have lined up for you right here on ITV Networks, coming to you live from Sunning Hill in Johannesburg. And of course, by now you are used to the drill. If you call in and become a part of this conversation, you walk away with a sweet hamper from Broadway Sweets or a hair care hamper from Amca. But right now, the energy levels are pretty high because we're going to be looking at something pretty interesting. A first time for me, we're looking at adventure coaching. Mark, good morning. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Julie.
Now, when I saw that I was going to be talking about adventure coaching, I kind of just wondered how much energy is going to be in the room. How energized are you this morning?
Well, it's a Saturday morning and I had a late night with some friends last night playing darts, so it's not optimum, but getting there, yeah.
All right. What exactly is adventure coaching? You know, I'm thinking the moment I saw adventure coaching, I thought life coaching, team building, motivational stuff. What is it? Is it all of that and much more?
So coaching is a developmental conversation between two people aimed at helping somebody to come up with their own ideas and to then take action and accountability and move forward in their life or business. So adventure coaching is my spin on that, in which I take clients out into the outdoors on mountain bikes, kayaks, hiking, on a golf course, it doesn't really matter. And we have that same coaching conversation. And in order to make it work, I did test the process. We look at different obstacles, challenges, pathways. For example, on a mountain bike, you might come up against a gate. You know, where in your life are there obstacles? How do you approach them? Or, how, you know, that kind of thing. So use the outdoors as a context for the conversation if it comes up.
So you're so busy doing this adventure thing. Is there enough focus in addressing the issues that the client might have?
Great question. You should be into coaching soon. So what happens typically with the energy is we start off, so the process I designed was we start off looking at the current reality, what's really going on, and that's from my training as a results coach. That's typically where we start, and unpack any context specific questions or dilemmas the client has, and then we cycle, and in this particular example, and generally the pathway is quite well, it's not steep. What's the opposite of steep? Undulating. Yes. So we're able to unpack a little bit more along that route, and then typically it gets steeper, and that's time for percolation. It's time for absorbing the questions and not necessarily answering them straight away. So that's the difference between a coaching as we would do it sitting here versus on a bicycle. The questions, the client has a lot longer to percolate.
Now, when we look at adventure coaching, I know that lots of people go to life coaches and they become, a relationship is formed. And they have these people, these life coaches in their lives for a long time, possibly even for the rest of their lives if they can afford it. What's different with adventure coaching? Because I know you're out in the Western Cape somewhere.
Yes.
Where exactly are you based?
I'm in Napier in the Overberg, which is mountain biking heaven. The
So now I'm thinking if you have clients wanting to come to you
Right.
and forms this bond and this relationship with you, I'm thinking accessibility.
So can I just answer one thing?
Sure.
In terms of coaching, the idea is that the client doesn't use the coach as a crutch. We have a series and it's empowering. It's meant to set you free. It's not meant to become a dependency. So if a coach has a client for the rest of his or her life, I'd question that, actually, you know.
So what you're saying is that the client is using the coach as a crutch, so to speak.
Well, if the coach is a good coach, the coach will set the client free. I've got a client. I'm glad to be back in Johannesburg because I'll see her shortly. We had a session, and now once a month or so she does a check-in with me via Skype, just to handle a couple of dilemmas, a quick steering exercise, clarifying a few things, unpacking a conversation she's got to have with her boss, that kind of thing. And it's fine because it's not related to an ongoing process. It's drop-ins.
You spoke about cycling as part of the adventure coaching. What else do you do? And what about a client like myself who's not adventurous in the least? I walk, I'm a walker, and that's the sum total of my activity. But I don't bike and I don't do any other activities. How are you going to engage with someone like myself?
Okay, so I want to first answer the question I didn't answer before. So you said accessibility. I'm
Yes.
out in Napier, and my clients do come to me and they come and spend a weekend sometimes. And otherwise I put my bicycle in the car or I pack my walking shoes. Back to your question, we can go for a walk on a golf course, in a park, it doesn't matter. The whole concept behind adventure coaching is that your brain needs oxygen, water and blood. When you're exercising, your blood, your heart pumps, you're drinking water and you're breathing a bit more than you usually would. So it's good brain it's good brain therapy to adventure coach.
All right, so I decide I'm going to book a session with you, adventure coaching. How long does it last? Is it an entire day event or?
The coaching itself is probably about an hour, hour and a half, but with cycling and breakfast afterwards with my clients, I have a CEO client who insisted on poached eggs afterwards, and I'd sit with my iPad and record all of the insights and the actions for the conversation and then email them to him straight away. So it's typically about 3 hours, which makes it takes a chunk of your day. So it's typically more expensive than normal coaching.
When we look at adventure coaching, and what pops into my head is team building and motivational speaking, or perhaps go to someone who's a motivational leader and hope that he'll be able to help you unpack all of the stuff that you're walking around with that's dragging you down. What is the difference, or what are the similarities or the overlaps in all these different disciplines?
Oh, that's a long answer. So let me try and clarify it and simplify it. Coaching, we base our conversation on the present and the future. So psychology is directed at the past and where did you get all of those things? Tell me about your mother. And then there is therapy, which is therapeutic, is a different process, and counseling tends to be around specific issues and specific situations. And team building, obviously we can do team coaching, but team building is typically actions and then some debrief, whereas a coaching conversation will be much deeper. It'll be around how the teams relate, what are the obstacles in terms of how their relationship affects their workspace, how their personality differences
That's team
collaborate.
building.
No, team coaching. So
Team
we can do a team Enneagram profile, for example, and get everybody's profile and then the team profile, and then coach around that. What are the specific differences and challenges because of the dynamic of the people? And that, I don't think you've ever experienced that kind of thing on a team building exercise. So it's very different. And people do say to me, oh, you're a team builder or you're a motivational speaker. Well, I'd love to do motivational speaking, and I have, and that's for me is fun. But team coaching is not team building. It's a completely different thing.
And I asked this question specifically because I've been on a couple of team building exercises, and whilst there with the team and the coach, it was lots of fun.
Yeah.
But I just kind of wonder, once you get back to the workplace, you know, does it kind of sustain you? In a short while, I noticed that the people around me, including myself, kind of went back to our old habits.
Moved on. Yeah.
We went back to our old habits. Maybe we weren't just focused enough. I don't know. And I'm not necessarily pointing fingers at the team coach or the team builder. But I found that it kind of, all of that energy dissipates after a while.
You're absolutely right. And you've actually just hit the nail on the head as to why I chose coaching. So having been in training and team building for many years, I found exactly the same thing. There's that bell curve and the effects wear off. So with coaching, we create new neural pathways in the brain and new habits because we work over a sustained period of time. And along that period of time, there will be clients who drop off or slack off or, don't do their actions and those kinds of things. And it's definitely not a process in which somebody is taken to task over not doing something. It's very much, coaching is very much an empowering process whereby somebody not committing to something or not doing something would be a coachable moment, as we call it. So it would be a case of, how does that show up in your life as a pattern? Are there incompletions, for example?
Let's look at sports coaches.
Yeah.
They play a very integral role in the success of a sports person,
right.
Be it a Tiger Woods or the cricket team or whatever.
Yeah.
How are you different to those type of coaches? Because those people seem to be almost a permanent feature in the life
Right.
of a professional sports person.
So I'm glad you mentioned that, because there's a thing called the clarity of distance, which essentially says that I can stand here and see what you're doing with your golf club if you're Tiger Woods, or in a life or business or executive coaching situation, I can see through your the conversation which areas you're missing, which are your blind spots. So there's a similarity, but that's really where it ends, because a coach for a sports person will be correcting the technique rather than how they think.
Okay, so that's the difference.
That is,
and these
as far
sports
as
people
my
are
version.
sports people are very dependent on their coaches, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, if the team or the sports person does badly, it's the coach that's in the firing line.
So interestingly enough, I have a friend who's an NLP practitioner, and he's done a whole lot of things. He's called Tim Goodenough, and he works with the Proteas. And so he works with a sports team. However, he's my kind of coach. So they have a sports coach for their technique, but they also have a brain coach.
All right. I'm wondering how you got into the space, Mark. What was your journey? What was the journey that led you here?
Oh dear. Okay, that's a long story. It was okay. I'll be succinct. One of the coaching skills we learn. Having realized that bell curve wasn't serving my purpose in terms of how do I make an impact on this world and leave a legacy. People were learning things. They were enjoying my energy. I'm very energized when I'm training and facilitating and coaching and team building. And then, as you say, people would go back to their old habits. So for me, it wasn't enough. And then I started researching coaching. And then my dear father went and studied coaching through Results Coaches in Durban. And I'd been looking at different courses, and he recommended that course. So I did it and haven't looked back. And I subsequently did the executive coaching certification through them, and then an ICF associate certified coach. So
you're doing other things as well. Leadership. You have the Leadership Academy, and what else are you involved in?
Oh well, Wildcats
And the
Leadership Academy is a passion and purpose mission on its own.
That your family's involved there, aren't they?
My daughter and my very good friend Kim run Wildcats Leadership Academy with me, and the intention is to go into schools, typically grade 11s, a lot of underprivileged schools, with sponsorship, and help them to discover some life skills and potential which they weren't really tapping over an 8-module process, and then use an app which we're creating to access when they've got dilemmas and questions and we're not there.
And is it successful? Are youngsters hooking into the concept?
It's an incredibly drawing in process, because I think they're starved of that kind of stuff, because you can't talk to your friends or your parents about certain things, but you can be facilitated in a process with some of your peers. And so yes, it is working. We've worked with Fazeka, we've had Ford sponsorship, we've worked with Saks, we're talking to Curo School in Hermanus about coming and doing an adventure camp with us. So we do lots of different types of things, both in the school and then out in the countryside.
And that's all we have time for.
Okay.
Would you like to give us your website address before we say goodbye to you?
Yeah, so there's www.coachingwarehouse.com is for all coaches to collaborate and get together, and we're very excited about that. That's
Lovely
my main
chatting
focus.
with you.
Thank you so much.
Take care. That was Mark Smith talking to us about adventure coaching. Still to come on the show, we're going to be talking about the Stekeniko's CSI, I think it's called Vision for Better Vision this month. And we're also going to be talking to a lovely lady all the way from East London, Nouri Hammond, to talk about her book. So stay with us. You're watching Let's Talk right here on ITV Networks. Thank you for joining us, and do remember our lines are open and do become a part of the conversation. Right now we're going to be talking to the head of CSI Corporate Social Investment at Stekeniko. She is Geraldine Engelman, and she's going to be talking about their social responsibility initiative, which is called Vision Mission. Geraldine, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Julie. Thank you for having me.
Now, you talk about Vision Mission. That's your CSI project. Is it only for this year, or is it a project that's been ongoing for a while?
So, interesting enough, in 2015, we've celebrated our 10 years. So, we're about 12 years old now. It is our flagship program. The program really started because we are in the movie business, and obviously sight is important to us. So what we wanted to do was to give back to the community and provide, a kind of output for them, so that they're able to come and watch movies with their new eyesight. We focus on obviously children with degenerating eyesight. And recently, in fact, about 2 years ago, when we launched when we celebrated our 10 years, what we've done
of this specific initiative,
our Vision Mission, we then decided to introduce corneal transplant. And then we were able to give a young man's sight of 10 years, Pilani Twala. So he hasn't had sight for 10 years, and then he got a double cornea transplant and is able to see now.
And all paid for fully by
Stekeniko Theatres, yes.
Now, how do you go and identify the people, the needy people who have vision problems, and you then go in and make a difference and change their lives?
The amazing thing that has happened is obviously the partnerships. We've had some great partnerships. We are obviously a corporate company, and so we go into there's some communities that we obviously cannot go into. And so partners like Brian Holden Vision Institute, which is based in KwaZulu-Natal, the Department of Health, the Department of Education, has really been great to partner with us. So they find these children for us, these learners for us. We have a great relationship with the Gauteng Eye Bank. Dr. Akil Asfat, in particular, he does a lot of, our surgeries for us pro bono, and he then obviously finds the recipients for the corneal transplant. But it's really through partnerships that we were able to reach as many people as we have thus far.
You mentioned the eye bank. What is that all about? And I'm also wondering, people watching us this morning who may know of an impoverished family who probably need assistance with eye care, or need their eyes tested, would they be able to get in touch with you and you'd refer them to the right people and have it all done at no cost?
Oh yes, no, most definitely. We are looking for obviously those ones that are impoverished. We want to assist those ones. The Gauteng Eye Bank is an organization that is linked to finding recipients for corneal transplant. As I said, Dr. Akil Asfat has played a major, role within our relationship with them.
And he's based at the eye bank?
He's based in Rivonia Road, actually. He's based in Rivonia.
And is that where the eye bank is?
Yeah, so they work from there. He works from one of, he's got his own little clinic and he works from there. And so the recipients obviously contact Stekeniko Theatres, and then I will refer them. If they need a cornea transplant, I will refer them to Dr. Asfat, who will obviously do the various tests and so on. If it has to do with obviously spectacles, we would, if you get in contact with us, we would then obviously to refer you to the right, and it's nationally based. So it doesn't only really mean Gauteng, anybody everywhere, in the country can contact us via our state clinical website, and we'll be able to assist.
There are a lot of older people, and we know that as you grow older, your eyesight does degenerate, and lots of older people need their eyes tested. They probably need reading glasses and so forth. And I think the hospitals just are not able to cope with that. Is that something that you look at as well?
It's not our primary focus at the moment, because we focus on the young ones, so really the children between 5 and 9 years old, because that's really where the need is. 10% of those kids need, eyesight. However, probably about 10.31% of people in South Africa has got degenerating eyesight. And most of them, the older you get, obviously, that is where, the needs are. It does not mean that we won't assist. So if there are people out there...
You won't turn anybody away.
We won't turn anybody away. We've had, people always come to us with cataracts, and obviously we refer them to other people who's in partnerships with us, who's able to assist as well.
Now, you've been working on this project for the past 10 years, something I should imagine is close to your heart.
Very much.
What sort of research is done to ascertain the need, just how big the need is, as far as people with sight problems is concerned, right across the board, I should imagine?
Yes. So we rely a lot on the Department of Education. The way that these kids are obviously identified is through nurses. So the health nurses go out to the various areas and they go and identify them with the teachers. The teachers obviously have to pick up which of these kids have particular problems, which of them is not able to see properly, needed to sit nearer, to the whiteboard, exactly, etc. So it's really through partnerships that, it's been, and especially Department of Health, Department of Education, that is able to identify these kids with, that. So, and a lot of these statistics, come from, Stats SA. I was saying earlier on to some people that actually I went on there and it's as accurate as it is. So basically, out of the, I think, 12, million students that we have out there, probably, 10% of them have degenerating eyesight. So the statistics are there for us to look at.
Over the past 10 years, would you know how many people you've actually assisted, be it for glasses, be it for corneal transplants, be it for any eye problem, be it degenerative, eye disease, whatever the issue is? Do you have an idea how many people you've actually assisted?
Yes, definitely, Julie. We have to keep track of that. I think it's part of our objectives and our outputs that this is what we would like to achieve. So over the last, 10, 12 years, we've probably screened, and when I say screened, these are the nurses that has gone out to the schools, or these has been through our partnerships. We have partnerships as far, with University of Pretoria, with Tukkies, as well. So we were part of their program as well. We've probably about over 310,000 children we were able to reach to look at their eyesight. We were able to assist about 12,000 of them over the last couple of years. So on an annual basis, we try and assist about 1,000, so. It is not as, cheap as we wanted to put it out there, because it's fairly expensive. But through the partnership, it's been great. In terms of corneal transplants, we were able, as I said, to give the double corneal transplant to Pilani. It's been a great campaign for us. People have really been very supportive in that. And then through Dr. Akhil Asfat, we were able to identify an extra 2 people that we've just given, cornea transplant to, that is able to see.
And that's just a drop in the ocean. You're talking 3 people over a 10-year period. Surely you're wanting to reach more people, and I'm sure there are more people in the community that need those type of services. But of course, it also comes at a cost.
That is correct.
So how do you then determine who is the right candidate? You might have a couple of people, and I should imagine you can only help 2 or 3 of those people.
Yes, that is right. So the cornea transplant, we've really just started, as I said, 2015. We then made the decision, we've looked at spectacles for a long time, and then we made the decision that obviously we want to focus on corneal transplant. as I said, it is a process. These children have to be identified. And it's not just about giving the corneal transplant. It's about making sure that 18 months after they have that transplant, that they have to see the doctor.
The aftercare, the maintenance. For the rest of their life, I should imagine.
Actually, not really. It takes about 18 to 24 months, according to Dr. Asfat. And so they need running water, for instance. And so we have to look at those factors. If you do the corneal transplant, remember it's soft tissue. We have to go and buy them, and we buy them from the US at the moment. We were not able to find anything in South Africa, and so we have to go and they have to be harvested, and we get them from America. They're fairly, costly.
Quite an operation.
Well.
What sort of cost are we looking at?
So probably between 18 and 25,000 rand. That is,
all inclusive.
All inclusive. So when it's harvested, we get it from the US. It comes here and it costs us about. The last one with Pilani has cost us between about 18 and 25,000 rand.
So what's your success rate like? That's the corneal transplant. You've had 3 thus far, am I right? You've done 3
thus far.
Success rate, that looks good as we speak, but success rate with youngsters, vision screening, possibly getting them spectacles so that they're able to perform at optimum levels. What else can you claim as a success for Stekeniko's CSI program? Well,
the way we work is that you see every 2 years you have to change your spectacles. So, it is obviously the amount of people that go back to make sure, that these spectacles are changed. And especially this works, obviously, with our partners. Specsavers has been great as well as one of our partners. And we were able to monitor how many of these people have actually, gone back to get new spectacles. Remember, there's also a time frame where when you do wear these spectacles over a time, because exercises go on with your spectacles. So after a time, the eyesight it doesn't get worse. It actually gets better. So after a while, we also look at that. Some of the statistics that have been
there are some people, unfortunately, who degenerate
further. And obviously they have to go and test. And that's why 2 years is, the time that you have to go and test. So we have seen that happen. We've had some stats, especially from Specsavers within the Gauteng area, where the people that they've actually seen to has gone back more often because they talk about it. So this one talks to that one and says, if your eyes is not really great, Stekeniko will help you.
And are you okay with that? We're running out of time, so I just need to ask 1 or 2 questions very quickly. Are you okay with that if people come back again and again?
Yes,
and they feel this is just not the right fit for me, and I need possibly a new pair of glasses, further screening tests, etc.
That is good. That's the idea.
They won't be turned away?
No, they won't be turned away. They've never been turned away.
All right. Very quickly, and Stekeniko funds this 100%. You're not looking for donations from outside the general public and so forth, apart from your partnerships?
Apart from the partnerships, if you go into our self-service terminals, and Julie, we need to get you to the movies. But if you do get to the movies, you get to your self-service terminals.
Yes.
There's an option there for donating to Vision Mission. So South Africa has been great.
Oh, wonderful.
They were the ones that is actually, gone. So all that money that South Africa has given us over the last, couple of years has been for Vision Mission. My study doesn't get paid from it. It's all going towards eyesight for the people with degenerating eyesight. And going forward, as far as your CSI program is concerned, are you going to stick with this because it works? Yes. Because, it works for us, we're sticking with it. We're now looking at other partnerships because there's other organizations, people like Momentum or Nelson Mandela Foundation, etc., that has actually, come forward and interested within our project because they obviously have other areas that they're looking at. So yes, it works for us. And we're part of movies, and movies means eyesight. And we want people to see, the movie properly and with color and everything else. Well, I think it's an amazing CSI project. Thank you indeed for touching people's lives in such a positive way, for making it possible for people to be able to see something we take for granted. Geraldine, it's been wonderful having you in the studio. Thank you indeed, and go well and continue opening the eyes of the rest of South Africa. And thank you, Julie, for having us. And thank you, South Africa, for supporting us.
go well. That was Geraldine Engelman. She is the head of CSI at Kinico, talking to us about the CSI project, which is a Vision Month or Vision Mission. Certainly opens our eyes to all of the issues out in the community. So thank you to you, Kinico. And when we get back, we're going to be talking to an amazing woman who has written a little book, a booklet, shall I say. It's called Letters from My Heart. In this book, she talks about her time of loss. She lost her husband a little while ago, and in her hours of deep despair and darkness, she decided to write this little booklet. And I think anybody who's lost a loved one, especially a spouse, should definitely read this book. When I read it, I was tearing away, and I do hope that we don't have any tears on set this morning, but this is what the book's going to do for you, so stay with us.